Hello and thank you for joining in on today's training. Heart & Solutions is a proud provider of CE-eligible trainings for our counseling community. This training may be eligible for continuing education credit hours through either the National Board for Certified Counselors, provider number 7376, or the Association of Play Therapy, provider number 21-645. To obtain CE hours for today's training, be sure to follow the steps in the description below to find and take your quiz.
Hello, my name is Carissa Hunt, and I am the Vice President in charge of the BHIS department at Heart & Solutions. I have been providing BHIS services as well as supervising and training providers since 2012. BHIS stands for Behavioral Health Intervention Services, and it is a free service for children with Medicaid insurance in the state of Iowa. We can see children from the ages of 4 through 18 years old and their families. Before starting BHIS services, clients will complete an assessment with a licensed mental health therapist. During this assessment, they will discuss what behaviors they are wanting to work on, they will gather information on the child and the family, and they will receive an official DSM mental health diagnosis. Some common diagnoses that we work with in BHIS services are ADHD, oppositional defiant disorder, and conduct disorders, to name a few. Typically, 1 to 2 weeks after the assessment is completed, one of our BHIS providers will be able to start working with the family. BHIS sessions will usually take place in the client's home after school hours. Sessions can also take place at one of our offices or in school as long as the child's school allows. All of our BHIS providers are trained on several behavior-based interventions, such as utilizing the 7 C's of Resilience by Dr. Kenneth Ginsberg and Wellness Recovery Action Plans, or WRAP, by Mary Ellen Copeland. At their first session, our providers will set treatment plan goals with the family. Some examples of goals that a BHIS client might have would be utilizing coping skills to manage their anger, learning to identify and express their emotions appropriately, utilizing stop and think to improve their impulse control, improving their ability to listen and follow directives, or improving respectful and assertive communication skills. Our BHIS providers will then create and utilize games, crafts, and other hands-on activities to incorporate fun ways for clients to practice these behavioral skills during their weekly sessions. These videos will now show some examples of behavioral health intervention activities that our providers have created to use in session to help our clients work on their treatment plan goals.
So today's activity is focused on helping children practice healthy physical boundaries, which I call personal bubble. So this is just an example that I have made. And so as you can see, it's a figure with a bubble around them. And this is something that I have as like a tool to help me have a dialogue with children on what it means to have healthy physical boundaries. So if they're having challenges either fighting or having trouble keeping their hands to themselves with either their siblings or it can be peers at school, this is one way to have that dialogue and then to explore, what do healthy boundaries look like. And so what I do is I'll bring it out. I'll have them, write their name at the top, and then, they can color it, they can customize it. And then what I have them do is, as they're doing this, coloring it and customizing it, explore or try to find coping skills or strategies that are going to help them maintain healthy boundaries. And I have them just either write it down, or you can even write it down for them, either around here or wherever it is that they want to put them down. And the last thing is just post it somewhere in the home or in the room. That'll be a visual, kind of like a visual reminder for them whenever you want them to practice a skill. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Today I'm going to show you a quick and pretty simple activity that I like to do with my clients. The first thing you're going to need is just a blank sheet of paper. You can use printer paper, notebook paper, whatever you have available for you. And then I like to use crayons. You can use markers, colored pencils, colored pens, or even if you just have a black pen, that would work perfectly fine too. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to fold the paper in half, hot dog style and then hamburger style. So it's going to have 4 boxes when you're done. So the paper is going to end up something like this. And then in each corner, we're going to write a prompt for each of them. So I like to start off with happy, angry, sad, and excited. So it's going to end up something like this. And then when we have this completely done, I like to give the clients a time limit for each box. So for my younger kids, I do typically about a minute. For my older kids, I do about 30 seconds. I do tailor the prompts to each individual client as well. The more I know about them, their goals, their needs, that kind of thing. So you can use whatever drawing prompts that you want. I like to start off with the typical happy, angry, sad, and excited. So then once we have this paper ready to go, I start the timer for each client and they go ahead and draw. After the timer goes off, they'll go immediately on to the next one, and then so on until we're done with this. When we are done with the activity, I like to have the clients talk to me about it for about 5 minutes, explain each of the drawings to me, why they drew that, why that's important to them, what that means to them, and kind of how they feel about it. Some drawings are better than others, and I make sure to tell that to my clients. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be pretty, as long as we know what is on the paper, and that is all that is important. So I hope that this is beneficial. Thank you.
And today I'm going to review an activity called ANTS. Stands for Automatic Negative Thoughts. And pretty much it requires a jar. I use plastic. And some construction paper. Copy paper is fine too. A writing utensil. Really could be anything. Markers, crayons, and some scissors. And so for this activity, you're just going to cut some strips here like I did. You can use as much as you would like. And it would just review, some negative thoughts that child is experiencing. And this works for kids of all ages, really. It's just going to review some of the things that, that they're dealing with at home, at school, anything within their everyday life. Really, it's good for working with improving communication skills, improving their coping skills, and even increasing their awareness of, their feelings and emotions as well. So those are some good benefits. So what they would do in regards to, kind of working towards those skills is writing down some negative thoughts that they may have or experience or even have difficulty expressing with others, especially within those locations in their everyday life. So in other words, you could write down something as simple as, or have them write down something as simple as, I was grounded. And so they would just write that down, fold it up, place it into the jar, and then they just keep going until they wish to stop. Pretty much when the jar is full, or at least, again, whenever they're comfortable with, ending, all the negative thoughts or images or even situations that they've experienced or would like to apply to the jar. I like to go at that child's pace. So in other words, if I'll ask them if they're comfortable with reviewing it today for this session or review it another time, or at least take a moment and then come back to it. Just kind of give them a moment to debrief and, kind of go at their own pace with what's to come out. So what I will do is when they're ready, I will read it out loud with them or have them read it out loud if they're comfortable and kind of just review it, kind of sit with that feeling, that thought, and then try to challenge it into a positive one. So for instance, I wrote down, a negative thought being, I was grounded. Okay. And so I would then want to challenge that thought into, okay, so what got us grounded? Or, what are some coping skills that we could have used to kind of, help navigate what we were feeling in that moment, or even communication in that moment with, mom, dad, or with the teachers or whatnot. So it's really good for, building those communication skills and getting those thoughts to the surface to kind of help that child get an idea of, what it would feel like to actually say it out loud, which is very nice. So yeah, this activity is very simple. It's really helpful, and I hope that it's helpful for you as well. Thank you.
And today I am going to do the trigger tree activity to introduce. This activity works on identifying a trigger and how to work through a trigger and how to identify different parts of that trigger. It's really for any age groups. I kind of do with my younger ones, but I think anyone can do it, even in family sessions as well, really working on just really identifying what's kind of going on. So the first thing is you're gonna need this worksheet, some tape, and some little handmade leaves. So the first question is obviously identify your trigger. So you're gonna identify the trigger, you're gonna have them write it on a leaf, and then you're gonna stick it to the worksheet. And then second, list the feelings that brings up this trigger. If your client has a lot of feelings, a little feelings, all kind of just depends on what they feel. You have different sizes of leaves. I have large, medium, and small. So let's say they have just a few, so I'll put a medium leaf on there as well. And then list up some fears that this trigger brings up. Again, depends on how many fears this trigger brings up. Let's just say I have one, so I'll put a little leaf on that. Next is, what is the root or source of this trigger? It can be multiple things, it can be one. I'll just go with one. Source of the trigger, so I'll put a little leaf there. Next is list the insecurities this trigger brings up. So let's say I have a lot of insecurities about this trigger, or your client does. I would put a big leaf there, write them down, put it on. Next is what is out of your control in this trigger. Again, anything, little, bigs, whatever you have. Next, what is in your control. List what's in your control and place that leaf on the tree. Next, how can you soothe yourself right now from this trigger? It can be a lot, it can be little. And if you think of any more, even, and then let's say you think of another one, obviously you can add another leaf to it. That can be for any of these. And then lastly, write a motto you can use to practice acceptance. So here you can have, you can have a small motto, you can have multiple mottos, anything you want, anything your client wants to have on their tree. And there you go.
I think that this activity is a excellent activity. Anyone can do it. It's low budget, especially in those early stages when you're still building up that rapport. You want to learn your clients more, what they like, what they don't like. So this also can kind of serve as a bit of a preference assessment with them. And all you're going to do, it's very simple. You only need two things. You need a piece of paper. I was using basic printer paper and some markers or crayons or colored pencils, whatever you prefer, but I'll be using markers. What you'll do is you'll give your client a piece of paper and you'll just say, I want you to draw your own planet, all right? So there's a lot of different ways this can go, and all of them are okay. You want to work on that communication. Immediately once you say this, they're going to start thinking of different things. I want my planet to have, is it going to be more tropical? Is it going to have their activities on it, different toys they like, games? Is there certain cartoons they like that might be on this planet? And so, yeah, I'm just going to write on here very poorly. We'll just do Brady's planet. Underlines, right? And then I'll just draw a circle on there. So again, there's literally, it's so simple. And you might have maybe moms on there. Maybe their friends are there. Maybe their favorite foods are on this planet. Literally anything goes. And it's a great way to learn more about your client, what they like, what they don't like, and just help build up those things that you like. Then you can bring back and reference back to the planet saying, oh, I know that you said you like this, and bring that up into conversations later to just keep that rapport going, keep the session going great.
And today we're going to be making a coping skills toolbox. So the supplies you will need are markers and crayons, colored pencils. You will need scissors and tape, as well as slips of paper, and then one piece of regular paper out of like a copy machine. So to start off, we are going to take our piece of paper, and this one is already kind of dismantled. And what you're going to do is fold it in half and create a center like this. And you want the pieces of paper on the sides to be approximately the same length. It's okay if they're not perfect. And then you'll unfold that, and you're going to fold this part down just like this, and you're going to fold that down, and you want this amount here to be the same amount as this here. So you want this fold to kind of equal that one. And then after that, you're going to take scissors and you're going to cut along these lines on like the shorter ends. And you can do the other side too. It doesn't really matter, but it seems to be easier by doing this. And then this part, I'll pause and note that usually this is where I'll have my clients color, and we'll talk more about that. But for now, to show you just how to build the box, you're going to go ahead and fold these in like this. And so you can tape here along this line, or you can put it on the outside and also fold out here. And then you have a box just like this. So before you completely put the toolbox together, I tell my clients to color their toolbox, specifically this bottom part, with things that make them happy, their favorite colors, their favorite things, just because like the goal of this is to help them. And so I thought like that would be the best part to decorate it with. You can kind of gauge on how much coloring you're going to do, and I mean that by how long you think the clients are going to take by just coloring that bottom part, or if you want them to decorate the whole thing. So this is my coping skill toolbox. I have my cat, and that cat is kind of scary, so don't look at her. I'm not an artist, but I have some flowers, rainbow. My favorite color is purple, so I tried incorporating that as much as I could. And then because I had time, I decorated the outside too. You could decorate the inside as well, just truly how much your client is willing to do, or how much you think that they should do. So you've completed your toolbox. Now it's time to go ahead and pick out your coping mechanisms. For this step, I like to have the clients just go through a list of coping skills that I already have pulled up like on my iPad, and have them pick out what they think is best for them, and kind of talk through them, you know, what do they already do on a daily basis as their coping skills, like listen to music, or color. And so as they make their coping skills, I have them write it down first, and then I tell them to decorate it. So this one says take a shower, and I just decorated it in blue, paint or draw. And so truly just like doing it so that they are becoming happy as they go through this process. So listen to music, and then I have them fold it up and put it in their toolbox, just like this. So now they have a toolbox with their coping skills in it. And ideally, they are going to use this when they're upset or angry, and they go in here and they pull out a coping skill, and it says, play with kitties. And so now, instead of getting into an argument with someone else or yelling at someone, they just go and they play with their cats. And this is just an easy way for them to cope. Usually I will make a box with them and I'll decorate it, and then I give it to my client as a lid. So ideally like this. So then they have a full box. As well as you can change, if you don't want to do coping mechanisms, maybe you do positive affirmations. Sometimes while my clients are doing coping mechanisms, I will create positive affirmations for them to add into the mix, just to have more options for them. But overall, that is the coping skills toolbox. And I would say that the age range for this is anywhere between like comprehending what they're doing. So around 7, 8 to 14, 15. I think it's important for them to make the choices along the way of what their favorite things are and what they think would work best for them. As well as like the overall goal is that in the future they would use this toolbox to help them go through their anger or their emotions. And then once we're all done with our toolbox, a lot of times I'll like to sit down with my clients and just practice pulling them out, and we will practice doing the coping skills. So maybe listening to music, and we'll put on a song and we'll just listen to the song and calm down. But yeah, that's the coping mechanism toolbox.
Today, I will be discussing an activity that can be done with caregivers and children, parents and children, etc. Whatever it is that needs to be done. This activity is called Name Entertainment, telling stories to calm big emotions. This activity is also recommended for ages 2 and up. The goals of this activity is to connect logic and emotion, utilize healthy coping strategies with emotions. Examples of that would be fear, anger, stress, etc., things like that. And also to increase mindfulness. Some materials that can be used with this activity is markers, colored pencils, crayons, and paper. Now I'm going to get into like a more of a description of the activity and how it can be done and instructions and steps to it. So, following an emotional event, it is normal for children to have emotional responses that may cause a behavior change. When using this intervention, the caregiver should ask the child to recount the emotional event. This can be by asking them to use markers, crayons, colored pencils, or another form of writing on a piece of paper. They can use the writing utensil to draw out their experience on the paper, while the caregiver attempts to narrate their experience as they draw, using their experiences to assist the child in understanding their emotions at that moment. Caregivers should also validate their child's emotions with phrases like, "Oh, that really sucks," or "I'm sorry that you are hurting," and then add their logical knowledge to the child's emotional story that was given. And so yeah, that's mainly like a background of the description of the activity and how it can be utilized, and also a discussion or a follow up of the activity is children struggle placing logic within their emotions. Talking about their stories makes it easier for them to sense of what they are feeling. It can relax the child, and it can also make space for undesirable behaviors occurring around or due to the confusing event that happened or they experienced. This will result in a child's left and right brain working with more synchronization. When mindfulness increases, emotions can be balanced more effectively. Neuroscience tells us that when the right brain is overactive, big emotions then arise after that. During a brain scan, while these regions are active, scientists observe that the right brain becomes less active when there is a name assigned to the emotion. So that's kind of like a discussion of the activity and also a background of it and where it comes about. So name entertainment is this activity's name, telling stories to calm big emotions. It is to connect logic and emotion, utilize healthy coping strategies with emotion, and also increase mindfulness.
And today I wanted to show you an activity that I like to do with children. It includes some paints, as you will see. I have the paints out here, and then some smooth rocks, so like some river rocks. The reason that I like to work with this is it helps with, children and keeping attention spans and really getting them involved in some hands-on activities, and then a way to then maybe discuss some feelings and color in therapy and different activities has been proven to help individuals connect to that emotion, especially in children. So I might say I would bring this and I would have them have a shirt or a cover up like this, because it can get a little messy. And so, have them pick it out, and also having something solid and sturdy and with weight really has, gives it kind of more of that feeling. And then when we can keep these afterwards, put them in our bags. And then, go through those and talk about it. And so what's important is to pay attention a lot when they're doing the activity. See what they prefer and why, and ask those questions. And then maybe after you have them painted, you can say, when was the last time that you felt that feeling? And can you feel that now? Or how is a way that we could take that sad feeling and bring it to a happy one. So if they have chosen to pick happy for yellow, so together, we would have our paint brushes and you paint the rocks. Now these are already kind of polished, and so the paint really goes on there well, but you want to be careful if you're just picking them up from the lake or something like that, that it has a nice soft surface. And so we would have that one. How about that one is happy? And then this one, they said green, and green is known to maybe be relaxing or to nature. And so, but again, that's just the typical. You want to let the kids be the one to decide. So we'll get that and see when they're all smooth. They really do quickly. Now I'm doing this in a rather fast fashion, but we would take our times. We would take our time with when I'm with the children. Now here, blue for maybe sad. But we would take our time, and you could even have them mix colors. Mixing colors, letting them decide maybe like this is now kind of a little blue-green. If, there's another emotion they want, like nervous, and that's, I'm kind of sad, and I'm kind of worried. But that in itself, mixing colors can be a very relaxing thing all on its own. It has shown. And let's say we would do then, we have a dark like gray, which I've had some is like a fear. Just to note, and with using colors, red can be triggering. There are, as they say, whether you believe it in them having energies about them, or the fact that it's just kind of embedded into our cultural history, how colors can kind of affect us. And so now we would have our rocks that have our feelings, and I could say, so when is the last time that you felt happy? And so then they can pull out their rock, and it has that weight, and it has the, it's the work that they did, and we can have a thought about, running through the last week. When was there a plus? When was there a positive that happened? When was there a win for them? And then you could say, were there any times that you felt any other way than happy that you could pick up a rock and show me? And that might help facilitate that beginning discussion with them. And instead of saying, did you feel sad? No. Say, was there a feeling that you had? And just even the fact with the colors. And so they could say, oh, green. Yeah, there was a time, and this was for them, was nervous, was when I was in the classroom and there was, someone who wasn't being nice to me, or I was in the classroom and didn't have my homework done, or, something where they weren't feeling well, and we can talk about that, and they have something to associate. And then you can choose to have them keep them, or you can take them with them, and you can make that as a regular part of therapy, and to get some conversations going, and, building that self-esteem and that confidence, giving them feedback on their work, and discussing different challenges. And maybe with mixing the colors, you can talk about how you could bring a little, yellow into the nervousness in the green, and maybe we make another color, or what that could mean. So lots of different avenues there. Thanks.
An activity that I have kind of modified for the self-esteem or emotional talking point or a BHIS session. So basically it is emotional hopscotch is what I'm calling it. You use colored chalk to signify what emotion the client is feeling for the days that have passed since your last session. Depending on how big you make the board for the game, it can be anywhere from 7 squares to 14 if you want to do 2 emotions per day, or maybe they have a specific day that had more emotions, so you can alternate the board as is. So each colored chalk will signify an emotion. For example, red will be anger, blue sadness, yellow happiness or joy. And the way I came up with the colors is from the Inside Out movie, from the Disney and Pixar stations. I don't know why, but the colors just make sense to me, and I feel like it'd be easy to relate them back to the emotions. So for this activity, all you will need is chalk and then a die or dice, I guess, depending on how you want to play it. So to start, you just draw out the board. Each square will represent a day of the week. So like I said, either 7 or 14, depending on how many emotions you want to have for the day. And you will roll the die, and then as you proceed, each square will represent a day of the week. So if you do 7 squares, the first day will represent, say, Monday, Tuesday, so on and so forth. And as your client goes through the squares, they will draw and color in the emotion that they were feeling that day. So say they're feeling on Monday happy, they'll draw with a yellow chalk, a smiley face or something. If they were feeling angry, they will draw an angry face. And the goal of this activity is to get your client to open up and talk to you about the emotions they were feeling that day, what made them feel that way. And it's just like an opening a conversation so you guys can discuss. You can participate in this activity as well. I would do a side-by-side board. So I would draw my own emotions in them, and then we would take turns. So they would roll, I would roll. Say I rolled a 3, I would jump 3 spaces, and then for every step I take, I will be drawing an emotion in each square. It's pretty simple. It's designed to help kids from anywhere from 4 to 12. It should be an easy communication guideline, so you guys can open the conversation and they will feel more comfortable expressing themselves, hopefully. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this activity and it works in your sessions. Thank you guys and have a great day. At the end of this video, there will be a short presentation just to like recap the activity and just like rules that you guys can modify for yourselves, and then yeah, just like an overview of the activity.
Today, the activity that I will be talking about has traditionally been done in a group setting and doesn't really have an official name, but I think I used to call it Feel Good Squares. So all that you need to start is I have a list of 32 different prompts. All are related to coping skills, self-esteem, goals, but they're fun and silly. For example, we have prompts on here such as what's your favorite self-care activity to do in the summer versus self-care activity in the winter or fall, etc. Another prompt is what's a coping skill that you like that costs $0? What is your favorite way to treat yourself? Another prompt is what is a short-term goal you have? Another is what's your favorite movie? What's the best part of your morning? So there's lots of different prompts, all related to things that essentially help us to feel good or cope with life. So the way that this can work, there's a lot of different ways to adapt it. Typically, I will tell the client or clients that we will take turns choosing a number between 1 and 32. They may want to look at the sheet and choose a prompt. That is fine. In the past, I've also done it where it's a mystery and they have to pick a number. So say they pick number 10. You set a timer for 2 minutes, 30 seconds tops. You can fluctuate that as needed. And the object of the game per se is that both of you or all of you are drawing and or writing your answer to the prompt in that 2 minutes and 30 seconds. You can use the duration of a song. You can use just a timer. Whatever works best for you. When the time is up, and you have to have your answer written and drawn. The cool thing about this, especially one-on-one, is that you guys can share your answers. You can guess what the other person drew. So for example, if the prompt was, what's your favorite thing to do on a rainy day? Maybe you draw watching TV with your dog. Maybe the kiddo drew stomping in mud puddles. And you kind of you can share each prompt. If your kiddo's not super chatty, you can set a duration of time, such as we're going to play this game for 15 minutes or 20 minutes. And you just kind of go through different prompts. Maybe you get 10. And now they have a paper full of a bunch of different drawn images of their favorite coping skill, favorite thing to do on a rainy day, their favorite part of their morning. Some other things on here that I think are cool are, what are some of your strengths? How can someone who cares about you support you? And some people might draw a hug or a phone call. So you can have lots of fun conversations about their favorite things, about things that work for them. At the end, they may have a poster of all these cool things drawn out. One adaptation, if your kiddo does not like drawing or writing, you can do it charade style. So you pick a number. Prompt is, what's your favorite activity to do in the fall? And the kiddo can act out jumping into a pile of leaves or something. It gets conversations going. It's kind of a get to know you. It's also kind of a beginner conversation of what coping skills are positive. You can share with the kid things that work for you. Talk about how awesome their answers are, sort of build that self-esteem, hype them up on all their wonderful positive coping skills. And like I said, it can be a visual reminder of those things. So all you need is your list of prompts, maybe some paper and markers, maybe not even that if you're going the charades route.
And today I'm going to walk you through a self-regulation activity that is geared towards the ages of 4 to 12. This activity is called the Feeling Monsters Puppet. So there are a few things that you will need in order to conduct this activity. The first is going to be the activity sheet. This is where it's going to give the instructions for you and the client, or the parent and the client, to use. The top rectangle here, there is a small line. You can't really see it on my sheet, but this is where the child will create their feelings monster. You will also need some other items, some form of medium. I chose crayons for mine, and then either glue or tape. Then that way you can turn this into a puppet that will go on the child's finger. I chose glue for my feelings puppet, and then you will need scissors, of course, to cut it out. Again, depending on the child's age, they may need a little more assistance during the process, but it really just depends on their, skill level and age. So for this, I'm going to just kind of walk you through how you would create the feelings monster, and then what you can do with the feelings monster as well. So again, the feelings monster puppet is a self-regulation activity. It's really a good way for kids to kind of understand their feelings in a new way. So I will start by creating my feelings monster here kind of quickly. Just what I would imagine, a monster to kind of look like, I guess. And that's kind of what you can tell the children that you're working with, just to create what they think a monster, looks like in their head, or what their feelings look like to them. Are their feelings dark? Are they bright and colorful? Everybody feels things differently. So I think that that's really important to let them just be creative in this moment, but also really give them a chance to discuss why they used different colors, what those colors mean to them. So for instance, my monster, I used a lot of darker, kind of harsher colors. You can also talk to them about, if they chose to, depending on their medium, push really hard or really lightly. Is that because when they're maybe feeling a certain way, it feels harder, or it feels lighter? So you can definitely talk about their feelings just during that part of the activity or right after they have finished it. So once they have drawn their feelings monster, what they portray it to be, you'll then either help them cut out the feelings monster, or let them cut it out themselves. Again, this is all a dotted line, so most kiddos should have an easy time cutting this out. So here is my feelings monster all cut out. Now, this is the next part is where you will glue it around their finger. So you'll want to kind of measure, whatever finger you intend to use. The paper is quite a bit. So for me, I have kind of tiny fingers, and I'm sure most kiddos will as well. So again, just a little glue or tape to kind of put that together there. My glue's not working well. Get a little more on there. Okay. So once that feelings monster is all put together, then you will start discussing with the kiddo what feelings they maybe have had today, or different thoughts that they've had today or within the last week. Some examples are, maybe the weather. What did you think about the weather this week? That's an easy one for a lot of kids to kind of talk about, especially this time of year. They're either excited about snow or they're really upset about rain. So to kind of pick something that's maybe not as deep and go from there. So you could talk about how if they, maybe thought, oh, good, it's raining. We didn't water our garden this week. That's obviously not a monster feeling. It's a good feeling. You had a good thought and a good feeling. But feeling like having the thought of, oh no, it's raining. I wanted to go for a bike ride and now I can't. Obviously in that moment, the plans changed. Things didn't go the way they wanted to. The child's feeling disappointed, maybe sad and upset. So that's where we can cue into that feeling and discuss exactly what the feelings monster was feeling. So this is where the child can let the feelings monster say what they're feeling, if they were feeling mad or sad or angry, and then they can talk to that feelings monster. So they don't have to necessarily talk to you either. So I can tell the feelings monster, if the feelings monster says, I didn't like that it rained today, I can say, well, why didn't you like it? Well, because it ruined my plans. Well, how did that make you feel? Of course, this is where we would prompt and help the children. But overall, this is a really great way to discuss with kids those automatic thoughts that they have that come and go very quickly. They can come in forms of words or images, and most people don't realize when they're having these thoughts. So we can help the child learn to identify their automatic thoughts by asking, what were you just thinking? When you notice their mood has changed, when those feelings become intense. It's difficult for people to identify, and it's even more difficult to acknowledge when those thoughts are unhelpful. So this is a really important tool to help support the child, help keep them, in a calm state, and again, self-regulate when we have any thoughts that just kind of come up unexpectedly. And when things change, especially, it's really hard for kids to fully master at young ages, being able to kind of go with the flow and being spontaneous and different things. So the feelings monster helps them identify those feelings and help to master a little bit of that self-regulation. So just a simple activity. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much.
And today I'm going to be sharing an activity with you called Managing My Emotions Wheel. So for this activity, you'll need 2 circle sheets of paper, colored pencils, and then push pens, and also scissors. So you're first going to start by decorating one of the sheets of paper. And to decorate, you could also use like markers or paint or stickers and stuff. But if you use paint, you'll need to let it dry before you continue on with the activity. So I'm first just quickly going to decorate my sheet of paper. All right, now that I have my sheet decorated, I am just going to write the name of the activity on the side. Just like that. And then the next step is to cut a triangle into the side. And it should look a little something like this. Next, I'm going to write I feel, and then I need. Just like that. And then the top sheet is done. You are then going to pen the 2 sheets together with your safety pen. All right, and then the next step is to identify an emotion and then a coping strategy you could use when you start feeling that emotion. So I'm going to start with I feel sad. I need to use positive self-talk. Just like that. And then next I'm going to draw a picture of the emotion I'm feeling, and then another image of what I could do when I feel that emotion. Just like that. And then you kind of just keep going with the wheel, identifying how you can feel emotions and then what you could do when you feel each emotion. So the next one I will do is I feel nervous. I need to think of something happy. And then I'm going to draw a nervous face. And then I drew a sun for something happy I could think about. So there's what that will look like. The next emotion I will write, I feel angry. And then I need to take a break. So there it says, I feel angry, I need to take a break, and that is an image of a timer. The last emotion I will do is I feel lost. And when I feel lost, I need to journal. And then there's that quadrant that says I feel lost. I need to journal. And then here's kind of what it should look like when you're all done.
One activity I like to utilize with families is Emotions Uno. The idea is for a child to identify their emotions by telling a time where they experience each emotion. Each color represents an emotion, and I typically ask the child to identify an emotion to each card. Red we associate with anger. Yellow we associate with caution. Green we associate with happiness. And blue we associate with sadness. When I think of red, yellow, and green, I associate that with a stoplight. The idea is for a child to get out of the red zone and back to the green zone. When I think of caution, I believe caution provides that child with an opportunity to either think about going from the red zone or to the green zone. And typically with this, we often ask a child to think of a positive coping skill to get them from the red zone back to the green zone. An example would be you have a client who has a sibling that taunts them. The child thinks in that moment to either hit back or walk away. To help a client with their behaviors, we work with the child to identify one positive coping skill with each emotion after they tell their story associated with each card. The idea around Emotions Uno is to provide a child with an opportunity to learn about Emotions Uno and to also be able to identify positive coping skills to help them through each situation. Emotions Uno is an interactive way for a child to engage with families and also to provide learning opportunities. I hope this is an activity that provides families with a fun way to teach their children about their child's emotions and to help a child to cope effectively.
An activity I like to do is called Feeling Dice. It's a simple icebreaker which you only need a 6-sided dice for. It works great as an icebreaker or just a way to check in with your clients since the last time you saw them. All you have to do is roll the dice and describe the correlating feeling that comes with each number. For example, if I rolled a 1, I describe something that made me happy this week. 2 would be something that made me sad. 3, something that made me angry. 4, something I was scared of. 5, something that made me worry or that I thought on a lot. And 6, something I'm just proud of. It's fun to do this in turn so you can establish a connection between you and your clients.
And today, the activity that I'm going to be talking about is most popularly known as either a vision board or an inspiration board. The supplies that you're going to need for it are a poster board. Any size poster board really works. I personally like to get a fairly good size board. That way it has space to be able to put a lot of content on it that your client might want. As far as the pictures, so I will go and get a couple magazines of different things. You can customize the magazine topics to your client and their interests. So I like to just get a general one of today's stuff, different stuff going on. This particular one is about finding joy, so it's different activities. It's called an expert toolkit for holistic change. That's just an option. Really, like I said, it could be anything. And then you have your basic decoration supplies. So markers are a good choice, colored pencils, crayons, anything like that. I have general pens, pencils, different things in here for anything they might want to write on it. And then as well as your glue or tape, either one works for that, and then scissors. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your poster board and you're going to set it out. You start looking through magazines, the different materials that you've brought. You'll be able to assist your client in looking through the material and seeing what pops out as something that they might be interested in. Really, I usually just tell my clients anything that sticks out to you, that you like, that makes you happy. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that you've done before. It could be something that you want to do in the future, whether it's a goal or like a bucket list item, even people they'd like to meet. Really it's anything that they gravitate towards that, at the end of the day is going to go up on their wall that they would like to see every day. So then as you flip through and, they find something, they can cut it out. If you have a younger client, you may need to assist them by cutting it out for them. Then once you have all of your materials cut out, you can also use personal pictures. Obviously make sure that if they are going to be cutting or changing them in any way, that they have parent permission to do so, that sort of thing. But once you have all the materials that you're going to put on the poster board, that's when they can really take the reins and decide how to organize it on the board, put things where they want them to be, different pictures. Again, maybe younger clients needing assistance on gluing them down or taping them down. And then you can add stickers, drawings, colors, anything to kind of accentuate the pictures and materials from the magazines that have been put on there, and hang it up. That's honestly what I would recommend. I think they get the most out of this activity if it's in a place where they are able to see it, especially every day, and something that they are proud of, and it has imagery that makes them happy, that reminds them of their goals and of the future, I think is the most important aspect of this. And then that's it. I do have a picture of one that my client created the other day that I will share here at the end of this video. I did get client and parent permission, as well as blurred any faces on there so you can get an idea. I will say that the experiences I've had with this activity is they really, really liked it. Parents like it as well. I really recommend doing it, and I think, again, that it can be for any age and very open-ended to create something that your client can be proud of and see as a reminder, and can be adapted to their needs and their liking. Thank you all for watching that. A couple of last things that I think I left out of the previous clips. So I used this with clients that struggle with either anxiety, depression, things like that. But again, I think it's open-ended enough where you can adapt it to whatever your client struggles with and however they would benefit from an activity like this. And again, any age. I know I said it a couple of times, but I really do think that in just the level of assistance that they will need to complete it, I think is really going to be the only difference. But otherwise, yeah, I had a great experience with this, and my client shared that as well. And I really hope that you can give this a try. Thank you so much.
And I have a pre-planned activity called In and Out of My Control. Basically, this will help clients learn how to process emotion and take action for the things that they can control versus the things that they cannot control. So some materials you might need are a blank piece of paper, crayons, colored pencils, markers, whatever you'd like to use to decorate your picture. So I actually already did mine. Basically, you're just going to take your blank piece of paper and you're going to trace one of your hands, and your hand is going to be the visual reminder of control. And all of the bubbles on the outside are everything outside of your control. Clients want to control things around them, and they tend to forget that they are not responsible for everything that happens around them. So some things that I put in my hand are my emotions, asking for help, words to myself, work ethic, and boundaries. Those are all things that I can control within myself. Controlling things that you can control helps
relieve anxiety before it becomes overwhelming, and control also enhances your accountability on things. So the bubbles on the outside I have are the past, other people's opinions, how other people feel, the future, time, what others do, change, weather, and the outcome of every situation. Those are all things outside of my control. So for example, if you have a client that has siblings, you know that siblings tend to feed off of one another. So, your brother might say or do something that might upset you. However, you might be upset about the situation, but you can't control on what your brother does or what he says. However, you can control what you say and how you react to the situation. Another example might be a client might have a family member in the hospital, and while it's okay to be worried about them, that's completely normal. However, we can't control other people's health. So we like to encourage clients to think about what they can control in that situation. So expressing how you feel is something that you can control. So in that situation, you might express to somebody that, I'm sad, I'm worried, I'm upset. Those are things that you can control. Another thing that we like to use is journaling. If your client is nonverbal or struggles with expressing emotions to people, we like to use journaling as a coping mechanism. Those are things that you can write down and also things that you can control. And another thing is making cards or pictures for that family member in the hospital to make them feel better, something that they can have. Those are all things that are in your control. That is it for my pre-planned activity, and I hope this activity helps, and thank you for listening.
Thank you for joining in on today's training. We look forward to having you join us again. Heart and Solutions is proud to provide CE-eligible trainings for our counseling community. This training may be eligible for continuing education credit hours through either the National Board for Certified Counselors, provider number 7376, or the Association of Play Therapy, provider number 21-645. To obtain CE hours for today's training, be sure to follow the steps in the description below.